Hello and welcome into Zach's Picks. I'm Zach McCullough. We're here for the Conference Championship week. We have games on Friday and on Saturday this week. So I'm going to start out with Friday game. We got Western Kentucky, UTSA. And UTSA, they were undefeated. They started the season 11-0, but then they kind of lost intensity. They got beat last week against North Texas, and they're 11-1. They're sitting there. They have not looked impressive recently in the past few games. And they finally dropped that game last week. This week I don't think will be any different. I think Western Kentucky, they want that Conference USA Championship. They're going to be fighting hard for it, and I think they're going to win it. And Western Kentucky, the Hilltoppers, they are a 1.5-point favorite. They will cover that. Next, we got the Pac-12 Championship in Los Angeles. We have Utah going to take on Oregon. And Utah's a 3-point favorite, and this is a rematch from a game earlier in the season which Utah had in Salt Lake City and absolutely demolished the Ducks. Utah, they looked impressive. Their defense played out of their minds. Their running back, Tavion Thomas, played an incredible game. And so you look for him to play this week. He should look very good. And Oregon, they just don't match up with the Utes. I mean, you might have thought that Utah, their win over Oregon, was just because it was at home and that Ducks would be looking for revenge because they were the better team. No, that's not the case. Utah is a better team, so Utah is going to win. Next, we've got Kent State and Northern Illinois playing for the MAC Championship. Kent State, a 2.5-point favorite. This is a Saturday game, by the way. The rest of the games will be on Saturday that I go over from here on out. The Golden Flashes, they're just a little more talented than NIU. They've just looked more impressive over the season than Northern Illinois. So I think that's why Kent State is going to win this game. 2.5-point favorites, I think they'll cover. Next, we've got Utah State taking on San Diego State, who's a 5.5-point favorite in the Mountain West Conference Championship game. San Diego State, they are one loss. They've been on a roll. And Utah State, they're 9-3. They really haven't looked all that impressive this season. San Diego State has, so I think the Aztecs should come out and dominate against Utah State. San Diego State, 5.5-point favorite. I think they should cover that easily. Next, we have the Sun Belt Championship game. This game's going to be played in Lafayette, Louisiana. Appalachian State traveling to take on the Ragin' Cajuns. And, App State, they used to be your Group of 5 powerhouse. They've been in the Sun Belt for a while. They've dominated. But all of a sudden, Billy Napier takes over as Louisiana Lafayette head coach, and he's got them up to dominance. And now he's going to go to Florida and become their new head coach. So is his mind in this game? I think that's why App State's a 3-point favorite here, because the bettors don't think his mind will be in the game. But he's a good coach, and I think his mind will be in the game. So I have the Ragin' Cajuns going to win by 5 points. Next, we have the ACC Championship Game. Pitt, who's a 3-point favorite over Wake Forest, is going to be playing the Demon Deacons in Charlotte. And, both of these teams have really good offenses. And so this should be a high-scoring affair. But it's really going to come down to who has the defense that can make the most stops. And I think that's Pat Narduzzi and his Pittsburgh squad. Their defense is at least halfway decent, while Wake Forest does not have a defense at all. So I think that should be why Pittsburgh comes out here and wins the ACC Championship, being the first team in what feels like a long, long time, not named Clemson, to take that award. Next, we have the AAC Championship Game. 4th-ranked Cincinnati is hosting Houston. Cincinnati's a 10.5-point favorite. In Cincinnati, you don't know if you're going to get the Cincinnati who can barely pull it out in the end or the one that dominates. I think this will be the Cincinnati that can barely pull it out in the end, and I think they'll do just that. 10.5-point spread. Houston's a good team, so I don't think Cincinnati will cover, but I do think the Bearcats will win and secure a spot in the college football playoff. Next, you've got the Big 12 Championship in Arlington, Texas. We have Baylor taking on Oklahoma State. The Cowboys are a 5.5-point favorite. And this, like all Big 12 championship games, is a rematch from previously in the year. And Oklahoma State won that matchup, and they just simply outplayed Baylor. Oklahoma State's got one of the best defenses in the country this year. a surprisingly good defense for a Big 12 team. And I think that's why they're going to just dominate the Bears. 5.5-point favorites. I think it'll be close for a little while, but then Oklahoma State's defense is just going to wear out Baylor, and Oklahoma State should end up running away with it. Next, we've got Michigan, who was suddenly catapulted to second place after upsetting Ohio State last week. They're 10.5-point favorites against Iowa. This game is at Lucas Oil Stadium in Indianapolis. And last week we were thinking it's going to be Ohio State and Wisconsin in this game, but two upsets coming into this week, and we have a whole new ballgame. Iowa ranked 13th. They started out, and they were in the second spot earlier in October. Iowa ranked second behind Georgia. They got upset, and they haven't looked impressive since then, and they've dropped to 13. Michigan, since then, has really played impressive. They've had one loss, and that's to Michigan State. But right now, they're sitting at second place, and they're in good position to make the college football playoff if they win. Do I think they're going to win? I do. I think it'll be a good game for at least a little bit. So I think in the end, Michigan will eventually be able to prevail. And towards the fourth quarter, they'll end up pulling away. So I think Michigan wins by 2 touchdowns, led by their offense, Hassan Haskins, Cade McNamara. That's an incredible bunch, and I do think they'll make the college football playoff and with a chance to make it to the college football playoff national championship game. Next, we have the biggest game of the week. This is Alabama traveling to Atlanta, where Georgia will be traveling also. Georgia's 6.5-point favorite. First time Alabama's been an underdog since 2015, when they were a 1-point underdog to who else? The Georgia Bulldogs in Athens on a rainy game where Derrick Henry had a coming-out party that pretty much secured him the Heisman. So Alabama, they have a lot of streaks in line here that you really have to dig deep to uncover. First, under Nick Saban, Alabama has never won a game at Jordan-Hare Stadium and then not won the national championship. If Alabama loses this game, they're most likely out of the playoff conversation. So that streak is on the line here. And we also have Alabama. They haven't lost a game in Atlanta since before I was even born. And that's another streak. Atlanta's been like a home away from home for the Crimson Tide. And that should come to play a factor in the fact that this game should be close. Georgia, they have the best defense I've seen in a long, long time. It's led by Jordan Davis up front, and if you try to run on Georgia, you're not going to get any success. For Alabama, they have the worst problem you can have going into a game against Georgia, and that's an offensive line that cannot perform very well. And I think that should be a real problem. If Auburn had Bryce Young running for his life, just imagine what Georgia's going to be doing to him. And these two teams are evenly matched defensively, with Georgia has an advantage there, slightly. And Alabama's offense is much, much better than Georgia's offense. Georgia's offense really hasn't been able to get anything going, so I don't think they'll put up many points. But this Alabama offense isn't like what we've seen in recent years. Bill O'Brien, he's not turned out to be the offensive coordinator Alabama fans hoped he would be. So I don't think this will be a very high-scoring game. I think it should come down to the end. I think Georgia will pull ahead early. Their defense will get good stops early. But Alabama will end up clawing their way in. But I don't think Alabama will be able to do it at the end. I have Georgia winning by a final score of 24-21. Well, that's all I have for you this week. Conference championship weekend is going to come to a close, and we'll know who's going to be in the playoffs shortly. And that leads up to my playoff special. I'll be picking the playoff games as well as New Year's Six bowl games and other important postseason matchups. That should come towards the end of the year when the games are getting close. Thank you for watching, and thanks to the Daily Mountain Eagle for hosting me. It's another good week, and I'll see you soon. God bless.